All right, Algebra 1B students, welcome to part 2 of lesson 11.1, where we're continuing to look at simplifying rational expressions, where we have some sort of polynomial or algebraic expression on the top and bottom of a fraction, at least one or the other. And today we're going to talk about recognizing opposite factors. Opposite factors would be things like 3 minus x, and the opposite of that, x minus 3. Okay, these are opposite factors, where they have the same two things, but they're being subtracted in the opposite order. Okay, when you have two factors that are the same pieces, but being subtracted in the opposite order, you can rewrite one of them as the other by simply putting a negative sign in front of it. So, if you have 3 minus x, what you can do is you can rewrite that as parentheses x minus 3 and just put a negative sign in front of those parentheses. Or, to put it another way, you can multiply in front of this a negative 1. Negative 1 times those two things. So if you put a negative sign or a negative 1 in front of a set of parentheses, you can flip the order on the two things that are being subtracted. 3 minus x, you can flip it to x minus 3 if you put a negative 1 in the front. Now, why is that helpful? Because if these two things end up on the top and bottom of a fraction, we would like to be able to cancel them out and simplify our fraction further. So we can flip them around, put a negative 1 in front, and then cancel. What this looks like would be something like this. So here in letter A, you notice we have an algebraic expression, a rational expression here, with 2x minus 5 on the top and 5 minus 2x on the bottom. Well, those are opposite factors, right? They're the same two things, but they're being subtracted in the opposite order. So what I can do is on the top, instead of having 2x minus 5, I can put negative 1 parentheses and then flip the order of these two pieces. So instead of 2x minus 5, I can now write in those parentheses 5 minus 2x. And then the bottom of my fraction is still, of course, 5 minus 2x. And I'll cancel this with this piece. And what's left on the top? Just a negative 1. What's left on the bottom? Nothing. So I could put a 1, or I don't really need to. My final answer there is negative 1. All right, so that's letter A. If I skip over letter B, well, actually, let me not skip over letter B. I'll skip over letter C. If I look at letter B, I have on the top and bottom two things that are not right now opposite factors. So what I'm going to do is first realize that I can factor the top of this a fraction. I need two numbers that multiply to be negative 16 and add up to be nothing because my y piece in the middle has gone away. So we should recognize that as factoring into y plus 4 and y minus 4. And then, of course, the bottom of my fraction is still 4 minus y. And now if you look at the top and bottom, there are two things that look like opposite factors. So after I've done the factoring as much as I can, now I will look for opposite factors. Here I see y minus 4, and here I see 4 minus y. So what I can do, of course, is I can take the bottom of my fraction and put negative 1 in front of a set of parentheses and then flip around the 4 minus y to say y minus 4. And the top of my fraction has not changed right now. It says y plus 4. Y plus 4. And y minus 4. And if I cancel those y minus 4's, ask myself, what are you left with? Well, you're left with y plus 4 over negative 1. Now, dividing by negative 1 just changes the sign of both of these, so if you want, you can go negative y minus 4, but I'm perfectly okay with this answer. All right, so now the thing I want you to be looking for after you've finished factoring everything, or before if you notice it earlier, is look for things that are opposite factors. The same two numbers but being subtracted in the opposite order. If you see that, you can write one of them as a -1 and then parentheses, flip the order around, and hopefully then we can cancel some more things. If you have questions about opposite factors or recognizing them at all, please make a note to ask me in class tomorrow. Otherwise, that's all I have for you tonight. Have a wonderful night.